Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Aliens vs. Avengers issue 1 by Jonathan Hickman and Asad Ribic. The Xenomorphs invade the Marvel Universe thanks to one of my favourite writers, Jonathan Hickman, and one of my favourite artists, Asad Ribic. They waste no time and drop us right into the middle of a sinister experiment being conducted on a Kree who has been infected by a facehugger, yet died during implantation of an egg. The Shi'ar scientists running the experiment are definitely trying to seed new xenomorphs, using Kotati, Strontian, and Dabari people to try and create new strains of the alien. But their real goal is to get a scroll, which is a real terrifying concept. It's not something I actually considered when crossing over aliens and Marvel stuff. A scroll xenomorph would just be horrifying to think about. Soon their base is raided by Black Panther and the spacefaring Wakandans. This is where things get interesting, as Black Panther isn't alone. He's there with his son Azari, who along with his father and the Spec Ops team battle a small group of xenomorphs on the space station. Azari looks to have powers as well, electricity powers, although they could just be some sort of high-tech Wakandan device. But the way they have shown, they do look very much like powers, which kind of hints at maybe Storm being his mother. So in this universe, maybe Black Panther and Storm never divorced, never got separated, so maybe they're together. We don't actually see Storm this issue though. Eventually, T'Challa's men gather the scientists and we discover the facehuggers have been let loose on the Wakandan Intergalactic Empire, which is why T'Challa has had to quarantine off from multiple worlds. On top of that, he learns the scientists loosed more on the galaxy, sending them out in special pods that were designed to infect worlds at an accelerated rate, with one of these pods targeting Earth. Hickman does a really cool thing here where T'Challa reveals his face, showing that this is actually a very, very older T'Challa, and the book is set at some point in the far future. It's probably a smart idea, as we get to take familiar characters, like Black Panther and the Avengers and stuff, and allows a few more Alien franchise connections like the synthetic androids and Weyland-Yutani and all that sort of stuff. Stuff which T'Challa actually interacts with as he learns that these Shi'ar scientists aren't Shi'ar scientists at all. They're actually synthetics made by Weyland. And they're out here conducting some undercover, sinister experiments, probably for Weyland himself, trying to breed the aliens, because of course they do. That's something that Peter Weyland or any of his descendants want in the Alien franchise, to breed the aliens and to basically just become a god. It's also really interesting because T'Challa knows what Weyland and these synthetics are, so what Hickman has done is he's just kind of married both the Alien universe and the Marvel universe together, and in this new world that he's created for this book, he's just said that they always were together. And I really like that there's no weird explanation of these two worlds combined together in the multiverse and that sort of stuff. No, it's just a new universe. These things were always existed together. The characters just always knew these things were around. I like it. It gets rid of all of the complicated working out of things like the specifics of how these things came into the Marvel Universe and all that sort of stuff. Get rid of all that sort of stuff, just drop us right into the story. It's great, and it adds to the chaos of what's about to happen as well. Before killing the androids, T'Challa learns that one of these pods that they have was sent into Earth's orbit. And the pod is filled with alien queens, infected hosts, and facehuggers, all of which spread over Earth in a pattern that is designed for maximum efficiency. The next couple of pages, Hickman kind of goes through just how fast these xenomorphs can just take over a planet, and in the matter of a week, the alien queens unleashed hordes of drone warriors onto the populace and basically wipe out Earth. And after 1 year, the world is completely taken over. One thing Hickman's really, really good at is the scales of events, or like giving something like a grand scale, and he does it here, as nothing is spared the xenomorphs' wrath. We see them just spread across the Earth in rapid pace as they evolve, and even places like Adelan on the moon, and Atlantis and Wakanda and Krakoa aren't spared. Being Krakoa was his baby though, I do like that Hickman does focus in on that a little bit more, revealing that the mutants abandoned the island for Mars. It's just really quite sad because Krakoa itself is a mutant. It's a living being and they just upright abandoned it, which I know it kind of says a lot about the mutants of the Krakoa era, if we're being honest, and Apocalypse was the only one who stayed behind, since he was the first mutant on Earth and he figured he should probably be the last. Saad Ribic's beautifully violent and realistic art always has been a favorite of mine. I adored his Eternals run that he did with Kieran Gillen. It was just top tier, and this is no different. There's just so much detail on each page, and the spectacle he can whip up matches Hickman's scale to a T. So while Earth has fallen, one city in America remains, overseen by Peter Wayland. He's not the only one in the city, as we catch up with an elderly Bruce Banner and Carol Danvers, who are waiting with bated breath until Valeria Richards comes back, having promised her dying father and family that they would protect her. I really like this Bruce-Carol pairing. It's not something you see enough of, I think, and the way Hickman writes them hints at very long, very violent and terrifying experiences that they both shared together, and it's kind of brought them closer together. It's experiences like these that have also jaded them over time, it seems, since Carol mentions that when the time comes and all is lost, she's going to go beyond binary and just blow up the entire planet to get rid of all of the xenomorphs. Soon Carol and Bruce learn that Valeria is on her way back to the city with aliens in tow, and Bruce takes off after her, hulking out to go and help Spider-Man, who has responded to the event as well. While Miles saves Valeria, Hulk smashes. Angered Valeria was out late, and I kind of like this part where he's kind of like a doting father, or you've been out past your bedtime, and Valeria has to kind of remind him that she's like 40 years old and has gone through 2 divorces. She's not a child anymore. But Bruce is still intent on keeping her safe, since that was what he promised Reed on his deathbed, and I like that that's Hulk's entire mission throughout this issue is him wanting to save his best friend's daughter, actually succeed at something for once. He learned from Valeria that she was out so late since she managed to make her way into a xenomorph hive and steal an egg, one that she wishes to study. Once back in the Wayland building, Valeria explains that they have been going about it all wrong when it comes to fighting the aliens, and Hickman really leans into the whole perfect organism concept of the xenomorph, as magic, science, and everything else these heroes have tried at their disposal has not worked in removing the eggs from the people who are attacked by facehuggers. So instead of battling that part of its evolution, Valeria wants to create a virus that will kill the eggs before the facehuggers hatch. Like I think a lot of people, what I really adore about the Alien franchise is all of the mystery and intrigue surrounding the xenomorphs, their creation and their evolution. Just everything about them is just so interesting and mysterious, and I like that Hickman is weaving that intrigue into Valeria's role in the story, having her use her vast intelligence to sort out the Xeno problem and the mystery once and for all. Valeria's plan also stirs something interesting in the conversation, as while Carol wants to go ahead with the virus plan, Bruce is somewhat hesitant, since the virus could mutate into something much worse, since we've seen the xenomorph is able to adapt to, infecting different hosts, and, you get variants and everything, so why wouldn't it do this with the virus, and could have some very horrific implication. Bruce, however, is outvoted and instead goes to see Peter Wayland, who seems to be good friends with Bruce, which is really kind of weird to think this, hero, the Hulk, is friends with Peter Wayland, the Guy Pearce played in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. It's so strange, but I like that Hickman just doesn't explain any of this stuff. They've just been friends seemingly forever, and Peter was a part of the superhero community since he knew Reed and all of these other heroes. It's really cool. I kind of dig it. Now, if you know Peter from the movies or just alien lore in general, he's not a very good dude, and that's very evident here, as he's got some sort of project in the works that looks to be something that would save humanity, and we don't exactly know what that is, and he isn't really too keen on counting on Valeria's plan to work, but he knows that if it does, he'll have a part to play, Bruce will have a part to play, everyone will, and it's probably something to do with, humans evolving to fight the xenomorph, like we've seen in the various Alien movies, where he wants to learn who his creator is, the engineers, that sort of stuff. And I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do with this, because this is Peter Wayland as like the old man, the one from Prometheus we've seen. So he's like a frail old man, so he's definitely after some sort of immortality here. As the book enters its final pages, Hickman leaves a last couple of good twists to round us off with, starting with Valeria sealing herself in the lab and leaving a video log for Bruce to find when he comes by with some food for her, one which reveals that she was implanted by a facehugger when she went into the alien hive. She wanted to try and buy herself enough time to come up with a solution to the problem. But it was too late, and she ends up dying in the sealed lab thanks to the chest burster. Hickman makes Valeria's death so bleak too, very fitting for the alien universe. She was infected by pure human error, as it's revealed she tripped over while escaping the hive and a facehugger was able to get onto her, which seems so trivial for someone like Valeria Richards, someone who has like great intelligence and is always very careful. But I love that because of it. I love that it was just so trivial and so nothing really. She tripped over, very human, if you will. Bruce, of course, refuses to let her die, but upon breaking into the lab, he finds it's too late and the xenomorph has already grown. But it and its acid blood are no match for the Hulk, and he ends up destroying it as the other heroes respond to the commotion. As they do, they find out that the facehugger she brought back in the egg is loose, and Miles is attacked by it, and it latches onto his face. Of course, the heroes want to help try and get it off, but they know they can't, and Wayland offers up a solution. They just kill Miles, they burn him, which Carol wants to do, but then another really cool twist happens. So this Miles costume, and it's hinted at earlier on, I thought it might have been, I don't know, maybe like an art mistake, because it was like in the far background, but we saw Miles and he had like a venom mouth. And as it turns out, that was not a mistake. That was some really neat little foreshadowing there by Assad Ribic, as this Miles' costume is a symbiote, and it takes over the facehugger, giving Miles a slick new white suit before bonding back with him, making his spider symbol into sort of a facehugger symbol, and presumably that means he now also has xenomorph powers. I'm not exactly sure what happens. It looks like the symbiote just basically destroys the facehugger and then comes back onto Miles, but now his symbol looks like the facehugger. Really intrigued to see what Hickman is going to do with Miles in this. Like, that's really cool. Does he have acid blood? Like, what's going to happen now? Does he have a connection like we've seen with Ripley to the alien and the alien queens now? Really intrigued to see how they've positioned Miles in such an important role. And he's the one who decides that, okay, now things have gotten, you know, a bit too real. We all need to get off world. So I guess the book's going to be heading into space now. Hickman and Ribic hit the ground running in this first crossover issue, diving headfirst into a world occupied by the Avengers and the Xenomorphs, never shying away from giving the story his classic epic scale treatment and also making it just bleak as all hell. I'm really looking forward to seeing how both writer and artist develop the story and where they're going to take this really interesting mix of old and young characters. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.